Hi friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm starting a new series on my channel. Back in April of 2019, Esquire posted a list of 30 thriller movies that they recommended you stream on Netflix. And of those 30, there are only currently, as of today, August 2nd, 18 of those movies are still posted on Netflix. This video series is going to be through 6 different parts. Since there are 18 movies, I figured I would watch 3 movies and then kind of get back with you on my thoughts on those movies. But I'm basically going completely off of the article that Esquire posted. I will have that linked in the description box of this video. My plan right now, at least to start, is to just go alphabetically because that's how they posted the list. So that's how I looked up the movies to see if they were available and added them to my watch list. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the first 3 movies. The first 3 movies that I'm going to be watching are Bird Box, Black Hawk Down, and Cam. Now, I'm going to say that some of these may not be your like typical thriller movie recommendation, but like I said, I'm going solely based off of the list that Esquire posted. And some of these are even more horror or more like military or more, you know, they have like a variety of genres, but they have like thrilling elements to them. Again, going solely off the list, which will be posted down below so you can see some of the movies that I will be possibly talking about over the next 6 parts. But I just wanted to open this up and say hi. I hope you like this video idea. I'm really excited to get started with it. Maybe I can give you some really great Netflix recommendations. So like I said, the first 3 should be really exciting. I've already watched Bird Box before, and the other 2 sound really good as well. So let's go ahead and get started with our first 3 movies. First movie we're going to talk about is obviously Bird Box. This one came out in 2018 and this was my first rewatch. So I have watched this movie before. I'm sure a lot of you have watched this movie or like read the book. I've watched it before, but I have not read the book, and I probably don't plan on it. I say probably because I think it still could be interesting, and I'm sure there are some things in the book that are not in the movie like normal, but kind of knowing the main storyline I think would like spoil the book a little bit, so I don't really know if I'm interested in that. However, I really love some of these characters. I thought Tom was super funny. He's the supermarket clerk, and even though he has like a short part in the actual movie, I just loved his character. He was like the comic relief that I really needed, and I wish he was in it longer. I loved the character of Tom, of course. I loved the acting of Sandra Bullock and John Malkovich, and I know a lot of people had some negative things to say, but I really loved their acting in this, and I just loved their back and forth banter. One of my all-time favorite lines in this movie is when they're talking about why they have like a feud between the 2 neighbors, and he's talking about like he wants to knock this down and build this glass monstrosity property. Why do you care what he builds? And he says, because I have to look at it. And that's just so classic for his character. It just like fits so well. But of course this movie is told kind of like in 2 parts. There is the making it to safety aspect, and then there is the past, like when everything started going crazy, how everything went down. And I think that was kind of like the backstory of like, so you would hope for these characters. I also really just thought that the kids acting and their facial expressions were just like so cute. They were just the cutest little kids. I personally thought this movie was so good. It kept me on the edge of my seat because like crazy things really do happen like throughout the movie. Not only like the suicides and stuff like that, but like it just continually, you're on the edge of your seat, and they're like, take off your blindfold, and you're like, oh. I think of this as more as like one of those classic thrillers that I think that if you like thriller books, you'll definitely like this thriller movie. Love Sandra Bullock as an actress. I loved the grittiness of this movie, the realness of this movie. It's just like crazy, like the things like if that really happened, like what would you do type thing. But yeah, I really liked this one. Black Hawk Down is a completely different spin than the Bird Box. It's more of like an American military wartime film than it is a typical thriller, but it has lots of thrilling elements. This is based off of a true story. It was released in 2001, so it's a little bit older, but I think it stands a test of time because it's almost like a history movie, and it gives you a lot of information that you could possibly be missing from that time. Based on a nonfiction book by Mark Bowden, it's about the 1993 raid in Mogadishu, and there was a warlord there that was keeping food from all the people. People were dying, so a whole bunch of military people went over and were trying to like help the people keep peace, and we were trying to take out that warlord. In the meantime, they shot down some Blackhawks, and just, I guess this movie kind of hits me because like I was in the military, and I think that if you are in the military, like it can be hard to watch because especially like the leave no man behind thing, that's just like a prevalent theme throughout, and that's why I think there were so many casualties. More military action, and because of that reason it is very graphic. You see lots of death and lots of like wartime stuff. It's full of familiar actors that you probably haven't seen in a while, so if you kind of miss your old-time classic actors, and you want to learn something about our history around like 1993 in Mogadishu, and learn a little bit about what was going on over there, and because it does have a little bit of information at the beginning of the film, and it does have some information at the end of the film, and it just kind of shows you that like when you're in the military, you don't get to make your own decisions. Like that's something that when you go into the military, you kind of know. You don't get to say, I'm gonna do that, I'm not gonna do that. You just have to do it because your superior told you to. You just have kind of like a selfless thing where, you know, you're gonna be there for your comrades and for your buddies, like no matter what, even if it puts you in jeopardy. And just like how close your bond gets when you're in a situation like this, and when you're working alongside each other every single day from sun up to sundown, and the lengths that you'll go through to be there, secure the area, and like secure your friends, and make sure that no man is left behind, even if that person happens to have been killed in combat. Because our goal is always to bring the soldiers home to America and to their families, and I'm gonna get really emotional about it if I talk about it anymore. But if you like military type movies and you want something that's inspired by actual events, then I highly recommend you check this out. But like I said, I don't think it's like one of those typical thrillers when you think about thrillers. It's more like American military wartime thing. Okay, this last one, super crazy. The opening, totally gruesome and crazy. This one is pretty sexually explicit. Not pretty, it is totally sexually explicit. So if you don't like that, if you don't like the subject matter of cam girls, online sex work, stay away from this. But that being said, if you don't mind that, like for example, if you enjoyed The Girl in 6E or the series, this is something that you can check out. The stories are quite different. It's just that in this series we follow a cam girl as well, and there's some crazy things that happen. It talks about her relationships with people online in the sex industry and stuff like that. So this movie discusses that as well. It's written by a former cam girl, and it depicts sex workers online and the fear of losing your identity online. In this one, Lola basically loses her identity. She has been really working her way up the cam girl like charts. There's like a ranking, and she's trying to get into the top 50, and she does that, and then her identity gets stolen, and there's like this doppelganger her that's posting these shows, and it looks to be live, but she's right there and she's like, who is doing this? Is this a sick joke? And she tries going through the proper channels to like regain access to her account. So it's really seeing, there's lots of sex, there's sex toys, there's the guys that support this industry. Some of the themed shows are very graphic because they involve like suicide and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say now that anytime you jump into any of these movies that I talk about, a lot of them do have trigger warnings. All of the ones that I have talked about here today have trigger warnings. It's just that you really need to do your own research, because like sexually explicit things, death, suicide, just all of that can be in any of these movies, especially considered they're thrillers. Definitely think you should do your own research. Now in this movie, I know a lot of people had a hard time understanding the ending, but I think the ending is what you make of it in this one, and there are articles out there that explain the ending if you need to understand it a little bit more. But I think it's a very interesting take on like sex work online and just identity in general online, and what putting yourself out there for, you know, millions to see, and you know, stuff like that. So I thought it was interesting. But that wraps up the first 3 movies, and I hope you liked this, and maybe you got some recommendations that you're looking forward to, whether it be a book or maybe check out these movies on Netflix. Like I said, I will have the article linked down below that lists all 30 of the thrillers that they recommended. Like I said, there's only 18 still available on Netflix. I will be going through them 3 movies at a time and getting back with you, because this is going to be a 6-part series. But I wanted to go ahead and let you know the next 3 movies that I'm going to be watching. So the next 3 movies I'm going to be watching are Copycat, Enemy, and Green Room. So if you're interested in my thoughts on those movies, go ahead and stay tuned for the next part. But that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know any questions you have down in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys again in my next one. Bye!